Welcome to my channel. My name is Jessie and today I am going over my first quarter stats for 2022. This should be a pretty quick video. I think I will mostly be throwing a few numbers at you and then going over a couple of books, and that will be it. But I think it'll be interesting throughout the year and as I do more of these to see what my reading was like at different points in the year. Before I get started though with the actual stats, I just want to take a moment to remind you to please like this video and subscribe to my channel to make finding my content just a little bit easier. Currently, I'm tracking my reading on 3 different applications or services, I guess. First, I'm using Goodreads, which is what I update the most often. And then about once a month, I sit down and update StoryGraph because I like all the features you can pick whenever you finish a book without having to type an actual review. So I have time to go think about my thoughts a little bit longer, but I can get down my quick thoughts real quick with the little selections there. And then I've also been using this Google Sheets document that was created by somebody in the book community. I don't remember the name of the person off the top of my head, but I will have their account and the Google Sheets linked below. I really enjoyed using all 3 of these together. I think Goodreads is just the easiest to remember to update because I've been using it the longest. But I like all the extra features of StoryGraph and the Google Sheets document I have been using. Between January and March, I have so far read 23 books, and of those, I read 12 in January and had a really strong start to the year before I was hit by a reading slump in February where I only read 6 books. And then in March, I thought the reading slump was continuing, but I think it's just a time management issue that I'm having to work through. And in March, I only read 5 books. Of the 23 books I've read, 9 of them were rated 4.5 to 5 stars. 10 of them were rated 3.5 to 4 stars. 3 of them was rated 2.5 to 3 stars, and 1 was rated 1.5 to 2 stars. I grouped them like that because whenever I do a half-star rating, I round up on Goodreads. Every other app and service that I use to rate and track my reading has the option for half and quarter-star ratings, but Goodreads still doesn't, so I just still round up on Goodreads because I would rather round up than down most of the time. Of the books I've read so far this year, 13 of them have been adult, 1 has been new adult, 7 have been young adult, and 2 have been middle grade. The top 3 genres I've read so far this year are romance, fantasy, and mystery in that order. I believe fantasy and mystery are tied at both at 13%. And romance was 30 to 40 something percent. I don't remember the exact number. 95% of the authors I've read so far this year have been women, and 60% of the authors I've read so far this year have been white authors, and the other 40% have been BIPOC authors. Overall, that's not too bad of a split, but I would like to try to focus on reading a few more BIPOC authors throughout the year and try to get it closer to 50-50, or even like a little bit more the other way, 60-40 the other way. So those are all the stats real quick. Like I said, that part was really quick. We got through that really quickly. I guess let's talk about the 1 2-star book I had. And for me, that was Twice Shy by Sarah Hogel. I think I read it in January. I was so excited for it because I absolutely loved You Deserve Each Other, but Twice Shy just was not it for me. It did not work for me at all. The book followed Mabel, and I just wasn't that interested in her story. I didn't like the way that she lived her life more in her head than out in the real world. I think maybe the book could have been saved if there had been a POV from the love interest, but it wasn't there, and so just in general the book didn't work for me, and I'm a little bummed about it, but I think it'll be fine. And looking back, it also wasn't that memorable because I don't remember the exact issues I had with it. I'm sure if you watch my January wrap-up, you can probably see how I felt there a little bit better. And then in no particular order, I'm going to go over my top 5 books of the year so far. First, I have Hannity's Guide to Fake Dating by Adiba, Jagadar. I'm very sorry for mispronouncing the author's name, but this book follows Hanny and Ishu, and I absolutely loved seeing their relationship develop, as well as them kind of, learn stuff about their own personal lives that they just weren't connecting to. Like Hanny kind of learning that her best friends aren't the greatest people, and, learning to not quite stick up for herself, because I don't remember her ever really sticking up for herself, but she learns how to distance herself from these toxic friends and spend more time with her family and with Ishu. Ishu, on the other hand, I really enjoyed her kind of, learning that her parents' expectations were unrealistic and unfair, and kind of learning how to deal with that after her sister fell from grace. And she realized no matter how hard she was trying to do something to outdo her sister, that her parents still might not find her good enough, or she could still fail in her parents' eyes even if she's done nothing wrong. I loved Honey and Ishu's relationship and watching them become friends and then become a couple while they were fake dating, and it was just a really cute book and I really enjoyed it. I also really loved The Charm Offensive by Allison Cochran. This book followed Dev and Charlie. Dev is a producer on a reality romance show or reality a reality dating show, kind of like The Bachelor, and Charlie is this year's Bachelor. And they end up together, and they're not really supposed to. I don't think it's like technically an issue as long as they don't get caught by, you know, the general public who will be watching the show. But I enjoyed, like, you know, their relationship developing, their friendship developing. I liked the way, you know, they were able to come together at the end and how it was able to be handled and everything, and how it opened up the show to being more diverse. But also I really liked the mental health representation in this book between Charlie and Dave. Charlie has anxiety disorders. I don't remember what exactly anxiety disorders he had, but I remember just feeling like overall they were really well portrayed, in my opinion. Which I at most only have generalized anxiety, so I can't say, you know, if his is perfectly accurate. And I think he also has obsessive compulsive disorder, but it felt accurate and it felt like it was well portrayed. Dave, on the other hand, he has depression, and I thought his depressive episodes and how he was kind of going through it and working through it was really well portrayed. And I also liked how both characters in the end went through it and got help for their mental health before they ended up together so they could work on themselves to make themselves healthier. Overall though, I really love this book, and this was definitely, I believe, my favorite book of January in general. I also read and loved How We Fall Apart by Katie Zhao, and I read this for January's Buzzword Challenge, and I have a whole reading blog on this one up. This book follows the main character, and she and her friends are accused of the death of one of their other friends. The main character's name is Nancy, by the way. I just blanked on her name for a second. I enjoyed kind of seeing, you know, Nancy's backstory compared to Jamie, because Nancy doesn't really fit in. She is a scholarship student who otherwise won't be able to go to this private school that's in this book. And just something about YA thrillers with private schools where the kids are accused of murdering each other, I always have fun with them. They're always fun to me. I don't think one of them will ever not impress me, but I'm also easy to impress. I'm also excited for Katie Zhao's next book that comes out later this year. I don't remember the name of it right now, but I believe I talked about it in my most anticipated books video as well. I also read and loved All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. And this book was probably my favorite book in March. This book follows Sal and Nur, and also Sal's mother, Misbah. And just the way the story is told, I really love it. You kind of know a little bit about Misbah's past and how she came to the US and how she ended up being married when she was. And you also learn a little bit about Sal's past from that. So you kind of follow her story in the past here and there. It's typically spread out a little bit more than Sal and Nur's POVs are. And Sal and Nur are in present day, and they live in the aftermath of Misbah's death. And they're both trying to cope with her death and the changes it brought on top of just everything else that's going on. Sal is trying to save his mother's hotel because she loved it. It was her favorite thing, I guess. And he kind of gets into some bad things whenever he tries to help save the hotel because his dad's not really helping. His dad is going through his own issues, and he isn't really being an active parent at all. Nur, on the other hand, she has a lot going on at home, and she is trying really hard to get into college to get away from home. And she's just not having any luck with it. And I would definitely recommend that you check out the trigger warnings before reading this book. I do appreciate that this book had the trigger warnings in it. And it's not, I believe when you open the book, it'll tell you, you know, the trigger warnings will be on the bottom of the next page. So if you're someone who doesn't like trigger warnings or if like they're spoilers, I think they should be pretty easy for you to miss. And the final of my top 5 books for the first quarter of 2022 is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. And this was my favorite book I read in February, and also the book I read for February's Buzzword Challenge. I have a vlog of this one as well. This book follows Poppy and Alex, and I absolutely loved seeing their relationship in this particular book. I loved the way it was divided between, you know, their timeline of past vacations they've been on together, and watching their friendship develop over the years until they had their falling out, and then seeing the timeline on this vacation and how they ultimately end up together. This definitely has secured Emily Henry as an author that I want to read more of, and I'm really excited to read her next book that comes out this year. Anyways, that is it for my first quarter stats, and I guess my first quarter favorites for this year. So far, I'm pretty happy with how my reading is going. I'm really excited about how many 4- and 5-star books I've read. I really hope that I can up the quantity a little bit while keeping the quality high, but we will see. I'm getting near the end of the spring semester right now, but I do have to take summer classes this year to keep from having, you know, to do too many classes while I complete my internship or student teaching. I'm still getting that part sorted out. I have my student teaching schools picked out as a backup plan, but I'm still aiming for an internship, so please hope for the best for me if you don't mind. Anyways though, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I will talk to you later.